It wasn't like I was expecting it. My sister, Lauren Carter Wilson, had made it abundantly clear years ago that I was an embarrassment to her perfect life. "You're not exactly the wedding type, Rachel," she'd hissed last Christmas, eyes raking over my thrift store sweater and the hint of tattoo peeking out from my sleeve. Nobody wants a bartender with relationship drama in their wedding photos. So when Mom mentioned all too casually over breakfast that Lauren's wedding was in 2 weeks, "Oh, haven't you heard? At the St. Regis, black tie?" I didn't even blink. I just booked a one-way ticket to Tulum. I was on a white sand beach, margarita in hand, when my phone practically blew up. 37 missed calls, 52 texts, 11 voicemails. The last one was from Dad, his voice cracking. "Rachel, call me back immediately. The wedding is off, caterer bailed, florist canceled, and the venue, it's flooded. We need—" I deleted it, then ordered another drink. What they didn't know, I was the one who'd been planning Lauren's wedding for the past 6 months, emails sent from a fake account, posing as her assistant. I was the one who'd convinced the venue to double book. I was the one who'd tipped off the health department about a rat problem at the catering company. And the best part? I was the one who'd sent an anonymous email to Lauren's fiancé, Bradley, with screenshots of her affair with his best man. By day 3, they were begging, "Mom, Rachel, honey, you're so good at fixing things, please just call the vendors." "Dad, we'll pay you back for everything. Name your price." Lauren, "This is your fault, you freaking bitch." I sent one reply, "Sorry, on vacation," then turned my phone off. When I finally got home, Bradley had called off the wedding. Lauren was being sued by the venue for damages. My parents had to remortgage their house to cover the deposits. They showed up at my apartment, demanding answers. "How could you abandon us?" Mom wailed. I sipped my coffee. Funny, I thought I wasn't wedding type. Then I handed them a bill for my 6 months of wedding planning services. Arsha Wu, Ling. Epilogue. Last I heard, Lauren moved back in with our parents. Bradley married the florist, the one Lauren fired. And I bought a condo with an ocean view. Funny how quickly family remembers you when they need something. And even funnier, how good it feels to say no. Chapter 1. The smell of coffee was the only thing that could drag me out from under the covers in the mornings. It seeped into my tiny studio apartment like a persistent yet gentle alarm clock, promising comfort and a little warmth in the gray morning light. This morning, however, even the coffee couldn't fully chase away the fog that enveloped my mind. Yesterday was that breakfast, that conversation, the wedding, Lauren's wedding. My finger traced the edge of the crumpled invitation I'd fished out of the trash can. It was thick, cream-colored cardstock, embossed with gold lettering that looked like it had been cut from sunlight. Lauren Elizabeth Carter, Wilson, and Bradley James Thornton. It read, as if the names were etched onto tablets of eternity. The date, the location, the dress code, everything screamed of luxury and refinement, of a world where I had never belonged. Crushing the invitation into a ball, I tossed it back into the bin. Why had I even taken it out? Masochism? Probably. Lauren had always been the star, shining, bright, unattainable. She was the one who everything came easily to, effortlessly. Beautiful, smart, popular, the perfect child every parent dreams of. And me. I was just Rachel, the other daughter, Lauren's shadow. Our paths had diverged long ago. Back in high school, Lauren went to a prestigious Ivy League university, studied business, interned at an investment bank. Me, I barely finished community college. Hopped between a few jobs before settling into a bar downtown. My life was chaotic, unpredictable, full of spontaneous decisions and temporary connections. A life Lauren was ashamed of. Their world, the Carter Wilson world, was built on strict rules and impeccable facades. Success, status, reputation, these were what mattered. I, with my rebellious spirit, love for tattoos, and unwillingness to fit into boxes, was a living reminder that their carefully constructed world wasn't so perfect after all. Lauren's words from last Christmas still rang in my ears. Not wedding type, as if I aspired to be a wedding ornament, as if that was the pinnacle of my ambitions. I chuckled, pouring myself another cup of coffee. Wedding type, what a ridiculous definition of human worth. The decision about Tulum came suddenly, like a breath of fresh air. I was just tired. Tired of constantly feeling like I wasn't good enough, not right enough. Tired of the endless comparisons to Lauren, of my mother's condescending glances, of my father's silent disappointment. Tulum, white sand, turquoise sea, a margarita at sunset, escape. I opened my laptop and started looking for flights. One way, Tulum. The further, the better. Chapter 2. Brunch at the Country Estate Club was a monthly Carter Wilson tradition. A place where the upper crust gathered to show off their latest purchases, discuss their achievements, and reaffirm their place in the high society food chain. I usually avoided these events, but Mom had insisted. "It's a family thing, Rachel, you need to be there." And so, here I was, sitting at the table, wedged between Mom, radiating fake hospitality, and Lauren, who was looking at me as if I were a stain on the immaculate white tablecloth. Dad, as always, was hiding behind his newspaper, trying to distance himself from the impending conflict. "So, Rachel, what have you been up to?" Mom asked, her voice too sweet to be sincere. "Working," I replied, trying not to roll my eyes. "At that bar?" Lauren inquired with distaste. "Yes, at that bar. It's called The Drowned Rat. Heard of it?" Lauren wrinkled her nose. "Of course not." Mom tried to smooth over the awkwardness. "Rachel is a very talented bartender. She makes amazing cocktails. And apparently she's pretty good at scaring away decent people," Lauren muttered under her breath, but loud enough for me to hear. I clenched my teeth. At least I earn a living honestly, without relying on Daddy's money. "Rachel," Mom reproached, "don't start." "Who started it?" I snapped back. It was at this moment that Mom decided to drop the bomb. "Oh, by the way, Rachel, I'm not sure I told you. Lauren's wedding is in 2 weeks." I pretended to be surprised. "Really? Wow, congratulations." "At the St. Regis," Lauren added with pride. "Black tie." "Fancy," I said, keeping my expression neutral. Inside, I was seething. They hadn't even bothered to invite me. Not surprising, of course. I was not wedding type after all. "We'd love for you to come, of course," Mom said, but her tone said otherwise. "But we understand if you're busy." "Oh, I'm sure I can find the time," I replied sarcastically, sipping my orange juice. "I always enjoy watching your perfect life from the sidelines." The tension at the table became palpable. Dad finally lowered his newspaper and looked at me with reproach. "Rachel, please, don't spoil our brunch." "Me? I'm spoiling brunch?" I couldn't take it anymore. "You just announced my sister's wedding that I wasn't even invited to, and you're saying I'm spoiling brunch?" "Rachel, don't be dramatic," Lauren interjected. "You know these events are complicated. Guest list is limited. We only wanted the closest people." "The closest people except for me, your own sister?" My voice rose. "Rachel, calm down," Dad said, his voice becoming sterner. "We don't want to make a scene." "A scene? You're making a scene by denying my existence." I jumped up from the table. "You know what? Enjoy your perfect wedding. Enjoy your perfect life. I'm going on vacation." I turned and walked out of the restaurant, leaving them stunned. Tears stung my eyes, but I wouldn't let them fall. I wouldn't let them see my pain. I got into a taxi and told the driver the airport address. Tulum, one-way ticket, right now. Chapter 3. Tulum was a breath of fresh air, just like I'd hoped. The warm breeze, the rustling of palm trees, the sound of waves, it was all calming and peaceful. I settled into a small bungalow on the beach, away from the noisy hotels and crowds of tourists. The days passed in bliss and idleness. I sunbathed, swam in the azure sea, drank margaritas at sunset, and read books I'd been putting off for ages. The phone stayed off. I wanted to disconnect from everything, from problems, from family, from Lauren. I just wanted to be. The first 2 days passed in blissful ignorance. I felt free, light, as if I'd shrugged off a heavy burden. I started to forget about the wedding, about the slights, about the whole nightmare. But on the third day, reality caught up with me. I woke up to the insistent vibration of my phone on the nightstand. I turned it on and froze. Dozens of missed calls, texts, voicemails, all from my parents and Lauren. My heart pounded. What had happened? I opened the voicemails. The first one was from Mom, her voice on the verge of hysterics. "Rachel, please call back. The wedding, everything is falling apart. We need your help." The second one was from Dad, his voice trembling with desperation. "Rachel, call me back immediately. The caterer bailed, the florist too. The venue is flooded. Everything is going to hell. Please help us." The third one was from Lauren, her voice full of rage. "Rachel, this is all your fault. I know it. You've always been jealous of me. You want to ruin my life." I listened to the messages, and a strange feeling grew inside me, a mixture of gloating and satisfaction. They were panicking. Their perfect world was collapsing. And they were turning to me, to the one they considered not wedding type. I deleted the messages and ordered another margarita. Why did they need my help? Why did they suddenly remember me? Only when they needed something. Only when their perfect life was falling apart at the seams. And then it hit me. What if? The idea came suddenly, like lightning. Crazy, audacious, but so tempting. What if I had already helped? The last 6 months flashed through my mind. Boring evenings spent at the laptop, searching for wedding vendors, reading reviews, comparing prices. Lauren had tasked me with helping with the organization, but in reality, she just wanted me to do the grunt work while she enjoyed her bride-to-be status. I created a fake email account, L. Carter Wilson Assistant, and started communicating with vendors on Lauren's behalf. At first, I was just doing my duties, booking services, coordinating details, but then a dormant demon began to awaken within me. The idea of sabotage arose gradually, like a sprout breaking through asphalt. At first, it was small pranks booking the worst florist, finding the most expensive caterer, choosing the most inconvenient time for the rehearsal. But then the appetite grew. Double booking the venue? Easy. A small mistake in the dates? A couple of fake emails? And voila! Rat problem at the catering company? An anonymous tip to the health department, a couple of compromising photos found on the internet, and it was done. But the cherry on top was the letter to Bradley, screenshots of Lauren's correspondence with his best man, an innocent friendship that had grown into something more than just friendship. Too many late nights at work, too many business trips, too many suspicious messages. I collected all the evidence, put it into an anonymous email, and sent it to Bradley, and then it was just a matter of time. I chuckled, recalling the details of my work, how meticulously I had planned each step, how I had enjoyed my power, how I had felt like a puppeteer, pulling the strings of their perfect life. Now they were begging for help. Now they needed the not wedding type. And I was going to refuse them. Chapter 4. The calls and messages continued. Mom, Dad, Lauren, all in a panic, all begging for help. I ignored them, savoring each missed call, each desperate message. On the third day in Tulum, a realization came to me. I wasn't just running away from problems. I was creating them. I wasn't a victim. I was the architect of my own revenge. And that feeling of power was intoxicating. I spent the day on the beach, watching the waves and contemplating my plan. I knew that sooner or later I would have to go home, but I would return not as defeated, but as a triumphant victor. In the evening, I finally turned on my phone and read the messages. Mom was pleading, crying, promising everything under the sun. Dad was trying to be businesslike, offering money, promising compensation. Lauren was just showering me with insults, threats, curses. But among all the chaos, there was one message that caught my attention. A message from an unknown number. "Rachel, it's Bradley. I need to talk to you. Please call me back." Bradley? Lauren's fiancé? Why would he need me? Curiosity outweighed caution. I dialed the number. Bradley answered almost immediately. His voice was tired and subdued. "Rachel, is that you?" "Yes, it's me. What happened?" "Thank you," he said, and there was sincerity in his voice. "Thank you for the email. For the truth." I was taken aback. You know it was me?" "I don't know exactly who sent the email, but I know it was someone who wanted to help me, and I'm grateful." "And what did you do?" I asked, holding my breath. "I called off the wedding," he said simply. "I can't marry a woman who lies to me." My heart beat faster. I had done it. I had ruined their perfect wedding. I'm sorry," I said, although I didn't feel a drop of regret. "Don't be sorry," Bradley replied. You saved me from a big mistake. I deserve to know the truth. And you revealed it to me. What will happen next? I asked. I don't know, Bradley sighed. But I know I can't be with Lauren anymore. It's over. I understand, I said quietly. Rachel, he paused for a second. You wouldn't want to tell me who you are? Just so I could thank you in person. I hesitated. Should I reveal myself? Or is it better to remain Bradley's anonymous guardian angel? Maybe someday, I said evasively. Right now I have to go. Okay, Bradley said. But thank you again, Rachel. You changed my life. I hung up, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction. I didn't know who Rachel was to Bradley, but for myself, I knew for sure. I was Rachel who said no. Chapter 5. Returning home was like returning to a cage. The air was stuffy and heavy, the sky gray and gloomy. Tulum remained in the distant past, like a dream. Silence and desolation awaited me in the apartment. The phone was silent. The messages had stopped. They had given up. I turned on the coffee maker and sat on the sofa, staring out the window. What would happen next? What should I expect from my parents and Lauren? The answer came in the evening. There was a knock at the door. Mom and Dad stood on the doorstep. Their faces were pale and haggard. Their eyes were red from tears. Rachel, we need to talk, Mom said, her voice quiet and trembling. I let them into the apartment. They sat on the sofa, awkwardly and uncomfortably. We know it was you, Dad said, looking at the floor. I raised an eyebrow. What exactly me? You orchestrated all this, didn't you? Mom asked, her voice breaking into a sob. The wedding, the catering, everything. I was silent, watching their reaction. How could you? Lauren screamed, suddenly jumping out from behind her parents. How could you do this to us? To your own family? Family? I chuckled. You remembered I was your family only when you needed something? We've always been a family, Rachel, Mom said, her voice becoming pleading. We've always loved you. Loved? I repeated. Love is when you say I'm not wedding type? Love is when you don't invite me to my own sister's wedding? Love is when you ignore and despise me? We didn't mean to hurt you, Rachel, Dad said, his voice full of remorse. We wanted Lauren to have a perfect wedding. A perfect wedding at my expense? I asked. At the expense of my humiliation and exclusion? No, of course not, Mom protested. We didn't think. Exactly, I said. You never think about me. You only think about Lauren, about her perfect life, about her status. And me, I'm just a shadow that spoils your perfect landscape. That's not true, Rachel, Mom said, but there was no conviction in her voice. Oh, yes, almost forgot, I said, getting up from the sofa and heading to the table. I have something for you. I took a pre-prepared bill from the table and handed it to my parents. What's this? Mom asked, looking at the paper in confusion. It's a bill for my services, I replied calmly. For 6 months of planning Lauren's wedding, $25,000. My parents and Lauren exchanged shocked glances. Are you kidding? Lauren asked, her voice full of indignation. No, I'm not kidding, I replied. I worked for you for 6 months. I deserve to be paid. But you ruined everything, Mom exclaimed. You ruined Lauren's wedding. Yes, I ruined it, I confirmed. And it cost $25,000. And that's still cheap, considering the emotional damage you've inflicted on me over the years. We're not going to pay you, Dad shouted, his face turning red with anger. You're crazy. You're a monster. A monster? I chuckled. Maybe, but I'm your monster, and I want my money. I pointed to the door. And now, please leave. And don't forget the bill. It has late payment charges. My parents and Lauren left, slamming the door. I was left alone in the apartment, with a cup of cold coffee and a strange sense of satisfaction. I had said no. And it was wonderful. Epilogue. Life after the wedding that went on. Lauren, as I expected, moved back in with my parents, licking her wounds and blaming me for all mortal sins. Bradley, to my surprise, didn't disappear from my life. He called me again, thanked me for everything, and suggested we meet. We met in a cafe, talked about life, about plans for the future. He turned out to be completely different from how I imagined him: smart, kind, with a sense of humor. A spark arose between us, light but promising. And then I found out about Bradley's wedding. Not to Lauren, of course, but to the florist, the one Lauren had fired, in her blind confidence in her own superiority. Fate, no less. I smiled, remembering this story. Fate is ironic. I looked out the window at the ocean. The sun was setting, painting the sky in pink and orange tones. It was quiet and cozy in my new apartment. The ocean view was stunning. $25,000 turned out to be a good starting capital. I bought this apartment, renovated it, furnished it to my taste. Now I had my own place, my own space, my own life. And in this life, there was no place for Lauren and her perfect world. There was no place for my parents and their eternal disappointments. There was only me, Rachel, not wedding type, who had finally found her own happiness.